They called her a mail-order bride. Millionaire rancher called her mine before she ever left town. The sun was just beginning to rise over the small town of Willow Creek, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. Birds chirped in the trees lining the quiet streets, and the town's bakery had already opened, the smell of fresh bread drifting through the morning air. For most people, it was just another peaceful day. But for Emily, this day was the start of a new life, a life she hoped would finally give her a chance to leave her past behind. Emily had grown up in a city where life was always busy, crowded, and full of noise. She had spent years dreaming of a simpler life, a place where people knew each other, where neighbors greeted each other with a smile, and where she could feel safe. The idea of moving to a small town had seemed impossible until she heard about Willow Creek, a town that promised quiet streets, a sense of community, and, most importantly, a fresh start. As she stepped off the bus, dragging her suitcase along the uneven sidewalk, Emily felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The town seemed friendly at first glance, with small shops lining the main street and children playing near the park. But she soon noticed the subtle looks from people passing by, the way whispers stopped when she approached, and how heads turned as if she were someone unusual, someone to be watched. It didn't take long for her to understand the source of the whispers. Rumors had already spread before she arrived. Someone in town had heard that she was a mail-order bride, a label that made her stomach twist with discomfort. The words weren't just incorrect, they were hurtful. She had come to Willow Creek for a fresh start, not to be judged for something she had never been. Emily had faced judgment before, but never so openly, never so immediately upon arrival. She tried to ignore it, walking with her head held high as she entered the local bakery. The bell above the door jingled, and for a moment, the chatter inside paused. All eyes seemed to turn toward her, scrutinizing her every move. She forced a smile and approached the counter, hoping the warm smell of bread and pastries would offer some comfort. "Good morning," she said, her voice calm but slightly trembling. The woman behind the counter, a middle-aged lady with kind eyes, nodded but didn't say much. Emily ordered a simple breakfast, a croissant and a cup of coffee, hoping to sit quietly and watch the town come to life. As she took her first sip of coffee, she felt the weight of the town's gaze. People outside the window stared as she walked past, and she could hear snippets of conversations, whispers like tiny arrows. "Is that her? I heard she's a mail-order bride. Do you think she'll stay long?" She had worked too hard to let the judgments of strangers destroy her courage. Instead, she focused on the little details around her. The sound of laughter from children playing near the park, the rhythm of a dog barking happily, the scent of flowers in the small gardens outside the houses. She reminded herself that Willow Creek wasn't the city, and life here moved differently, slower, more personal.
After breakfast, Emily decided to explore the town.
She walked down the main street, peeking into shops and greeting shopkeepers politely. Some returned her greeting warmly, while others barely nodded, their eyes filled with suspicion or curiosity. Each encounter reminded her that her reputation, or the false reputation the town had created, would be her first challenge. The more she walked, the more she noticed the differences between Willow Creek and the place she had left behind. Here, people greeted strangers cautiously but with a sense of familiarity. Children ran freely on the sidewalks, waving at her with shy smiles. Dogs barked in excitement, wagging their tails at her passing feet. And yet, beneath all the charm, she could feel the subtle tension, the quiet judgment that followed her everywhere she went. By midday, Emily had made her way to the local park, a small space with wooden benches, a fountain in the center, and a few old trees that offered shade. She sat on one of the benches, pulling out a small notebook to write down her thoughts. Writing had always been her way of calming herself, of organizing her emotions when the world felt too heavy.
"I am not who they say I am," she wrote. "I am more than a rumor, more than a label.
I came here to start over, and I will not let anyone's words define me." Her pen moved quickly across the page, her determination growing with every sentence. For the first time since arriving, she felt a spark of hope, a belief that she could survive this town judgment, and maybe even find a place where she belonged. Just as she closed her notebook, a commotion near the park entrance caught her attention. A group of townspeople had gathered, whispering excitedly, pointing in her direction. Emily felt her heart sink. Had she done something wrong? Was it another misunderstanding? Then she saw him. A tall man dressed in clean but practical ranch clothes was walking toward her. There was something about him that immediately demanded attention, confidence in every step, a quiet authority that made people step aside as he passed. His eyes, sharp and observant, seemed to notice everything, yet lingered on her for longer than anyone else had dared. The townspeople whispered even louder as he approached. Emily felt a mix of curiosity and fear. Who was he? Why was he looking at her like that? When he reached the bench where she was sitting, he stopped and smiled. Not the kind of polite, distant smile most people gave, but a genuine, reassuring smile.
"Emily, right?" he asked.
His voice was calm but carried a strength that made her straighten in her seat. She nodded, unsure how he knew her name. "Yes, that's me." "I'm Jack," he said, extending his hand. "I own the ranch just outside town. I've heard a few things about you, and I want to make one thing clear." His gaze was steady, unwavering. "Whatever people say, it doesn't define you. You're welcome here, and I'll make sure they know it too." Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of relief and surprise. For the first time since arriving, someone wasn't judging her. Someone was on her side. "Thank you," she whispered, unsure what else to say. Jack nodded, then glanced at the town behind him. "Don't let them get to you. People like to talk, especially when someone new comes in. But you'll see, they'll get used to you eventually. And if they don't, well, you'll have me to help." Emily couldn't help but smile, feeling a small weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time, Willow Creek didn't feel like a town ready to push her out. It felt like a place where maybe, just maybe, she could belong. Over the next few hours, they talked quietly, sharing stories about their lives. Jack spoke of the ranch, the animals he cared for, and the challenges of running a large property. Emily shared bits about her past, careful to leave out details she didn't want the town to know. Yet in his presence, she felt safe, understood, and even respected. By the time the sun began to dip behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, Emily realized something unexpected. She wasn't just surviving her first day in Willow Creek. She was starting to feel a part of it, and though the whispers and stares hadn't stopped completely, she knew she had an ally in Jack, someone who saw her for who she truly was. As she walked back to the small house she had rented on the edge of town, Emily felt a mixture of exhaustion and hope. The first day had been difficult, filled with judgment and whispers, but it had also brought a glimmer of something new, the possibility of acceptance, friendship, and maybe even love. That night as she lay in bed, she thought about the rancher and his unexpected kindness. She realized that in a town that seemed so quick to judge, there was someone who saw her beyond the rumors. And for the first time since her arrival, she allowed herself to imagine a future in Willow Creek, not as a stranger, not as a mail-order bride, but as Emily, a woman who deserved a fresh start and a chance to be truly seen. The days ahead would not be easy. Gossip would continue, and the town's judgmental eyes would not disappear overnight, but Emily knew she had the strength to face it, especially with Jack watching out for her. And somewhere deep inside, she felt the flicker of excitement, a quiet hope that perhaps her life in Willow Creek was only just beginning. Little did she know, the encounter at the park was only the start of something that would change her life forever. A connection that would grow into trust, friendship, and a bond strong enough to face any obstacle the town could throw at her. And somewhere, beneath the stars that twinkled over Willow Creek that night, Jack thought the same thing. He had seen many people come and go, many strangers arrive in town, but there was something different about Emily, something he couldn't quite explain. And as he watched her leave the park, smiling softly to herself, he knew one thing for certain. She wasn't just anyone. She was someone worth protecting, someone who had already captured his attention long before anyone else even understood her story. The next morning, Emily woke to the soft sound of birds outside her window. The events of her first day in Willow Creek replayed in her mind. The stares, the whispers, And, most importantly, her encounter with Jack, the rancher who had seemed to see her for who she really was. She got dressed and prepared herself to face another day in the town that still looked at her with suspicion. After a quick breakfast, Emily decided to walk through the main street again. She thought that maybe, by showing herself politely and confidently, she could slowly prove to the townspeople that she was just another person trying to live her life. But the whispers followed her, the sideways glances persistent, as if the rumor about her would never fade. "Here she comes again," someone muttered under their breath, causing Emily to stiffen. She kept walking, refusing to let the words sink in. But her courage wavered, and she felt the weight of their judgment pressing down on her. That afternoon, she noticed Jack's truck parked outside the small grocery store. Her heart lifted, and she hoped he might be around. Sure enough, as she stepped inside, he appeared from behind a stack of crates, a warm smile on his face. "Emily," he said, walking toward her. "I thought I might find you here." She smiled back, feeling a mix of relief and surprise. "I didn't expect to see you," she admitted. "I wanted to check on you," he said. "Seems like this town can be a little intense with newcomers." His eyes softened as he looked at her, especially when they misunderstand someone as much as they've misunderstood you. Emily felt a surge of gratitude. For the first time since arriving, she didn't feel alone in this town. "Thank you, Jack," she said quietly. "It's been harder than I thought. People watch me everywhere I go, and their whispers, it's exhausting." Jack nodded, his expression serious. "I know, but you don't have to face it alone. I want you to know something important. I don't care about the rumors. You're not here for anyone's judgment. You're here for yourself, and that's what matters." Emily felt her eyes well up. His words were genuine, and the kindness in his tone touched her in a way she hadn't expected. I appreciate that," she said, unsure how else to respond. Jack smiled and gestured toward the back of the store. "Come with me. I want to show you something." Curiosity piqued. Emily followed him outside, where a wide path led to a hill that overlooked the town. From there, the view was breathtaking. She could see the whole town spread out below her, with its small shops, quiet streets, and fields stretching toward the horizon. "This town has a lot of history," Jack said, leaning against the wooden fence. "People here are proud, sometimes stubborn, and they like to stick to their routines. But it's a good town. And you have a chance to become a part of it, if you want." Emily looked at him, feeling a mix of admiration and something deeper she didn't want to name yet. "It's just hard to imagine being accepted here. I'm not from this town, and people already have their opinions about me."
Jack shook his head. "Their opinions don't matter to me."
"You're not a rumor, you're a person, and I intend to make sure they see that too." The firmness in his voice left no room for argument. Emily felt a sense of protection in his words, as if he were silently promising to shield her from the town's judgment. She found herself smiling, feeling a connection she hadn't felt with anyone in a long time. Over the next few days, Jack began finding ways to spend more time with Emily. Sometimes it was helping her carry groceries from the store. Other times it was taking her on short trips to see the ranch animals or the surrounding countryside. Every interaction was filled with quiet kindness, patience, and understanding. And each time, Emily felt her walls slowly beginning to crumble. One afternoon, as they walked near a pasture filled with grazing horses, a group of townspeople passed by. Emily noticed their glances and heard the whispers once again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Jack stepped forward slightly, his presence commanding attention without a word. "They call her a mail-order bride," someone muttered, loud enough for both Emily and Jack to hear. Jack didn't respond immediately. He just looked at Emily, his gaze firm and unwavering, and then turned to the townspeople. "She's not what you think," he said in a voice that left no room for discussion. "She's not a rumor. She's not a story. She's Emily, and she's a person deserving of respect." End of discussion. The group of people muttered among themselves, clearly surprised by his boldness. Emily felt her cheeks flush, not from embarrassment but from relief and a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time, someone had publicly defended her, not in a half-hearted way, but in a way that made it clear she had an ally. After the group moved along, Emily turned to Jack. I don't know what to say.
Thank you. I've never had someone stand up for me like that before.
Jack smiled, a soft, confident smile that made Emily's heart skip a beat. You don't have to say anything, he replied. I just want you to know that I'll always be on your side. You don't have to face the world alone, Emily. Not now, not ever. She felt a flutter of emotion she couldn't quite name. Gratitude, admiration, and something else. Something warmer. She tried to focus on the scenery, the peaceful horses grazing in the late afternoon sun, but her thoughts kept returning to Jack, to his calm presence and the way he made her feel safe. Days turned into weeks, and Emily's life in Willow Creek slowly began to take shape. She found small routines that made her feel more at home, visiting the local market, helping at the town library, and even volunteering at the nearby animal shelter. Each day the whispers persisted, but Jack was always there in subtle ways, walking beside her on errands, checking in on her in the evenings, and sometimes just sitting quietly with her in the town square, letting people see that she wasn't alone. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Emily found herself helping Jack with some chores on the ranch. They were fixing a fence together, their hands brushing occasionally as they worked. The quiet rhythm of their tasks created a peaceful atmosphere, and Emily felt her heart calm in a way it hadn't in months. You're getting really good at this, Jack said, handing her a hammer. You might even be better than me someday. Emily laughed softly. I doubt that. You've been doing this your whole life. He shook his head, smiling.
I've met plenty of people who could surprise me. And you surprise me every day.
Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. She wanted to say something in return, but the right words didn't come. Instead, she nodded, grateful for the sincerity in his voice. That night, as she returned to her small rented house, Emily couldn't help but think about Jack's presence in her life. He hadn't just defended her from the town's gossip. He had made her feel seen, valued, and respected. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope that she could truly belong somewhere. The next few days brought more moments of connection. Jack invited her to a small dinner at the ranch, just the two of them. They cooked together, laughed together, and shared stories of their pasts. Emily found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected, talking about her childhood, her dreams, and her fears. And Jack listened, really listened, without judgment or interruption. During dinner, he reached across a table, lightly touching her hand. Emily, he said softly, I want you to know something. You don't have to leave this town just because people talk. You belong here as much as anyone. And you belong with me.
Emily's eyes widened slightly, her heart racing.
With you? She repeated, unsure if she had heard correctly. Yes, he said, his tone steady and sincere. I'm not asking you to make any decisions now. I just want you to know that I see you for who you really are. And if you let me, I'll make sure everyone else sees it too. Her cheeks flushed, and for a moment she struggled to find words. She had come to Willow Creek looking for a fresh start, but she hadn't expected this. A connection so deep, so protective, and so unexpected. She nodded slowly, her heart feeling lighter than it had in months. As the evening turned into night, Emily realized that the town's whispers no longer held the same power over her. She had someone who believed in her, someone who valued her for who she was, not what the rumors said. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future in Willow Creek that wasn't shadowed by judgment, but filled with trust, friendship, and maybe even love. Little did she know, Jack's quiet claim, calling her his in a protective way, was only the beginning. The bond they were forming would be tested by challenges ahead, by the town's skepticism, and by Emily's own fears. But for now, as they stood together on the ranch under the starlit sky, there was a sense of calm, a feeling that no matter what the town said, they had each other. And in that moment, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe, seen, and valued, ready to face whatever came next, knowing she wouldn't face it alone. The following weeks brought a rhythm to Emily's life in Willow Creek. Mornings were spent helping at the local library or visiting the market. Afternoons often found her walking along the fields near the ranch, and evenings were filled with quiet moments on Jack's property. The town's whispers hadn't disappeared, but Emily had begun to care less. With Jack by her side, the weight of gossip felt lighter, almost manageable. Emily discovered that the ranch was more than a property. It was a way of life. Jack introduced her to the daily routines of caring for animals, feeding horses, checking fences, and maintaining the land. At first, Emily struggled to keep up. The work was physically demanding, the sun harsh, and the chores endless. But Jack was patient, showing her how to handle the horses safely, how to repair fences efficiently, and even how to use the old tools without fear. "Here, let me show you," Jack said one morning, guiding her hands as they lifted a heavy bale of hay. "You don't have to do it all alone. I've got you." Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. It wasn't just the help he offered. It was the care behind it, the unspoken assurance that she wasn't just another newcomer. She realized that Jack didn't see her as a rumor or a label. He saw her as a person, someone capable, someone worthy of respect. As days passed, Emily became more confident in her tasks. She learned to ride the horses, to handle them gently yet firmly, and to anticipate their movements. She found satisfaction in seeing the animals respond to her calm energy. The ranch, which had once seemed so intimidating, began to feel like a place she could belong. Their friendship deepened naturally. Emily discovered that Jack wasn't just a rancher. He was a man with dreams, memories, and a quiet sense of humor. He shared stories of his childhood on the ranch, the lessons he had learned from his father, and the challenges of maintaining the land. Emily, in return, spoke of her past city life, her hopes for a new beginning, and the fears that had followed her for years. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the fields gold, Jack suggested a break. They sat on a wooden fence, watching the horses graze quietly in the pasture. "You're doing really well," Jack said, glancing at Emily with a soft smile. "You've learned faster than I expected," Emily laughed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I think I just don't want to disappoint you." "You could never disappoint me. I'm not judging you for your mistakes. I'm here to see you grow, to help you, and to support you. That's all I care about."
Emily felt her heart beat faster.
She had never had anyone look at her that way, with genuine care and patience. It was unsettling, yet comforting, and it made her feel something she hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of belonging, even in a town that had initially rejected her. Their growing bond didn't go unnoticed by the townspeople. Some began to whisper again, but this time with curiosity rather than judgment. Others shook their heads, clearly disapproving, but Emily paid them little mind. Jack's quiet support had given her courage, and she found herself standing a little taller, speaking a little more confidently, and moving through the town without fear of the whispers. One afternoon, while Emily was helping Jack repair a section of fencing near the edge of the property, a small group of townspeople walked past. They were clearly discussing her, but this time Jack stepped forward, his presence commanding. "She's not a story for you to gossip about," he said firmly. "She's a person, and she deserves respect. I won't let anyone treat her otherwise." Emily watched, amazed as the townspeople murmured and moved on, realizing that Jack's word carried weight. She felt a surge of gratitude and something deeper, something she couldn't yet name. Over time, Emily began to notice the small ways Jack showed his care. He would check in on her when she went into town alone, make sure she had everything she needed at the house, and include her in decisions about the ranch. Each gesture was quiet but meaningful, and Emily felt herself trusting him more and more. One evening, as they sat by a small fire outside the ranch house, Jack broke the comfortable silence. "Emily," he said softly, "I want you to know something. You don't have to face this town alone. You have me, and I won't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Do you understand?" Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "I understand," she said, her voice soft but certain.
I trust you, Jack."
"I really do." Jack reached out, lightly brushing her hand with his. "I'm glad. That's all I want, for you to feel safe and valued. You've already earned my respect, and nothing will change that." For Emily, those words meant more than she could express. The town had judged her before she even had a chance to show who she was, but here was someone who saw past the rumors, someone who believed in her when the world seemed determined not to. Days turned into weeks, and their connection grew stronger. Emily found herself sharing things she had never told anyone before, her dreams, her fears, even small memories from her childhood. Jack listened without interruption, never judging, never dismissing her feelings. He shared in return, but he always made sure the focus was on her, helping her see her own strength and value. Their moments together were simple but meaningful. They would take walks through the fields, sit quietly by the river, or work side by side in the stables. Each shared laugh, each supportive word, each gentle touch strengthened the bond between them. Emily felt herself opening up, feeling emotions she hadn't allowed herself to experience for years. One afternoon, as they tended to the horses, Emily stumbled slightly and almost fell. Jack caught her instantly, holding her steady. "Careful," he said, his eyes locking onto hers. "I've got you. Always." Emily's heart skipped a beat. The words were simple, yet the meaning was profound. He wasn't just speaking about that moment. He was speaking about their growing relationship, about his promise to be there for her. She felt a deep sense of safety and comfort in his presence. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the ranch, Emily realized she had begun to feel at home, not just in Willow Creek, but with Jack. He had become more than a friend, more than a protector. He had become someone she could rely on, someone whose opinion mattered, and someone she could trust with her heart. But despite their closeness, Emily still felt a twinge of uncertainty. She knew that the town's judgment would not disappear overnight. There would still be whispers, still be glances filled with doubt. And while Jack's support gave her courage, she wondered how long it would take for the town to accept her fully. One evening, Jack invited her to join him in checking the fences near the northern pasture. The wind was cool, carrying the scent of the grass and the faint smell of horses. As they walked together, Emily felt a quiet peace, the world around them fading away. "Emily," Jack said, stopping and turning to face her, "I need you to know something important." His voice was steady, and there was a seriousness in his eyes that made her pulse quicken. "I've seen a lot of people come and go in this town, but I've never met anyone like you. You're strong, kind, and you're remarkable. And I want you to know that no matter what anyone else thinks, you're mine." Emily felt her breath catch in her throat. The words were unexpected, yet somehow exactly what she needed to hear. "Mine?" she whispered, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Yes," Jack said, his gaze unwavering. "I'm saying it now, so you don't have to wonder where you stand. You have me. I see you. I value you, and I want to protect you in every way I can." Emily's cheeks flushed, and her heart raced. She felt a mixture of emotions: gratitude, relief, and something deeper, something that made her feel cherished in a way she had never experienced before. The weeks that followed were filled with quiet moments of trust and growing intimacy. Emily felt herself opening up more each day, sharing her thoughts, fears, and dreams with Jack. He continued to support her, defend her, and make her feel safe. And in return, she found herself caring for him in ways she hadn't expected, feeling a bond that was both comforting and exciting. As the town slowly began to take notice of their connection, the whispers started to change. Some people still judged, but others began to see Emily differently: strong, capable, and worthy of respect. And while the road ahead would still have challenges, Emily knew she had someone by her side who believed in her, loved her, and would stand by her no matter what. Under the stars on quiet nights as they sat together on the porch of the ranch house, Emily realized that she had found more than a fresh start. She had found trust, friendship, and love, an anchor in a world that had once seemed uncertain and cold. And with Jack's unwavering support, she felt ready to face whatever came next, knowing that together they could overcome anything. The weeks turned into months, and Willow Creek slowly began to change around Emily. The whispers that had followed her since the day she arrived had not disappeared entirely, but they had lost their sharpness. People started to notice that Emily was not defined by rumors. She was strong, capable, and kind. A woman who contributed to the town in meaningful ways. Yet despite this gradual acceptance, Emily knew that full trust and respect would take time. Fortunately, she no longer felt alone. Jack's presence had become a steady anchor in her life, his unwavering support a constant reassurance that she was valued and protected. One bright morning, Jack invited Emily to accompany him on a trip across the ranch. The rolling hills were covered in green grass, and the morning sun sparkled on the small creek that ran through the property. Emily felt the familiar sense of peace that came whenever she was near Jack. The ranch had become her sanctuary, a place where she could leave behind the doubts and judgments of the town and simply be herself. As they walked along a path lined with wildflowers, Jack spoke about his plans for the ranch, including new projects to improve the land and care for the animals. Emily listened, intrigued, and offered her thoughts. Jack always encouraged her opinions, treating her as a partner rather than just a guest on his property. The more Emily participated, the more she realized that Jack truly valued her not just as a companion, but as someone capable of making a difference. Later that day, they reached a small clearing near the edge of the ranch. Jack stopped and turned toward Emily, a serious yet gentle expression on his face.
"Emily, I need to ask you something," he said. "These past few months have been
special. I've come to rely on you, to care for you, and I can't imagine my life without you. I want you to know that I'm committed to you, fully. Not just in private, but in front of everyone who may doubt us." Emily felt her heart swell. She had known Jack cared for her, but hearing him say it aloud with such certainty and clarity filled her with warmth and security. "Jack," she whispered, I feel the same way. You've shown me kindness, patience, and trust when I needed it most. I want to be with you too." Jack's smile was gentle, and he took her hand in his. "Then let's face the world together," he said. "No matter what anyone thinks or says, we stand side by side. You're not alone anymore." The confidence in his voice and the sincerity in his eyes reassured Emily. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future with Jack, one filled with trust, love, and shared dreams. She knew there would still be challenges, but together, they could overcome anything. Over the next few weeks, Jack and Emily began to appear together more openly in town. They would visit the market, attend community events, and even stop by the local cafe for lunch. The townspeople could no longer ignore the bond between them. While some still whispered, many began to admire the way Jack openly valued Emily, defending her against gossip and including her in every aspect of his life. One afternoon, Emily helped organize a small charity event at the town square with Jack assisting her. As people gathered, Emily noticed smiles and nods of encouragement from townspeople who had once stared at her with suspicion. Children waved as she passed, and neighbors greeted her warmly. The town was beginning to accept her, not because of rumors or labels, but because of her character, her actions, and the way Jack stood by her side. During the event, Jack leaned toward Emily, his voice low so only she could hear. "You see, people notice who you are, not what they've heard. You belong here, Emily, and more importantly, you belong with me." Emily felt a tear slip down her cheek, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming sense of belonging and love. She squeezed his hand, grateful for his unwavering support. "Thank you, Jack. I finally feel like I have a place where I'm truly seen." As summer approached, the ranch became a place where Emily and Jack spent most of their time together. They would rise early to care for the animals, work on projects around the property, and take quiet walks in the evenings to watch the sun set over the hills. Each day their bond grew stronger, filled with laughter, shared stories, and moments of quiet understanding. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars emerge in the night sky, Emily reflected on her journey. She had come to Willow Creek with hope, but also with fear and uncertainty. She had faced judgment and gossip, and at times she had doubted whether she could ever find acceptance. Yet here she was, surrounded by beauty, trust, and love. Jack noticed her thoughtful expression and reached for her hand.
What are you thinking about? He asked gently.
Emily smiled, squeezing his hand in return. I'm thinking about how far I've come. How I thought I might never feel at home anywhere, and now I feel like I finally belong. Not just in this town, but with you. Jack's smile deepened, and he pulled her into a gentle embrace. You do belong, Emily. And I'll spend every day making sure you know that. You're my partner, my friend, and someone I'll always protect and care for. As the months passed, Emily and Jack faced small challenges, both from the town and from the demands of the ranch. There were days when the work seemed endless, when minor misunderstandings arose, or when gossip threatened to resurface. But through every challenge, their trust in each other only grew. They learned to communicate openly, support each other without judgment, and face obstacles together as a team. One afternoon, while Emily was helping Jack feed the horses, a neighbor approached with a smile. Emily, I have to say, you've really made a difference in this town, the neighbor said. You're kind, hardworking, and you've brought a lot of positivity. I'm glad you're here. Emily's heart lifted. She realized that the town's perception had changed, not because she had proved herself to everyone at once, but because she had lived her life authentically, with Jack supporting her every step of the way. She finally understood that true acceptance came from being genuine and having someone by your side who believed in you. As fall approached, Emily and Jack continued to grow closer. They spent evenings planning the future, discussing improvements to the ranch, and dreaming about the life they wanted to build together. Their love was no longer quiet or uncertain. It was steadfast, visible, and respected by those around them. One crisp evening, after a long day of work, Jack turned to Emily with a serious expression.
Emily, there's something I want to do, he said.
I want to make our commitment official. I want everyone to know how much you mean to me. Jack, are you saying? Yes, he said, smiling warmly. I want to ask you to be with me fully. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building a life together on this ranch and in this town. Will you do me the honor of being my partner forever? Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She had imagined this moment, dreamed of it even, but the reality was more beautiful than she had ever expected. Yes, Jack, she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. I'll be with you always. Jack pulled her close, holding her tightly as the stars twinkled above them. In that moment, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and peace. She had come to Willow Creek hoping for a fresh start, and she had found so much more: love, trust, and a place where she truly belonged. The news of their engagement spread quickly through the town. This time, the whispers were different. People admired their bond, respected the way Jack had supported Emily, and appreciated the strength and kindness she had shown. The town's perception had shifted completely. Emily was no longer seen as a newcomer or a rumor. She was part of the community, valued and respected, with a love story that inspired others. In the weeks leading up to their wedding, Emily and Jack spent time preparing not just for the celebration, but for the life they would share. They worked together on the ranch, enjoyed quiet evenings by the fire, and made plans for the future. Every day was a reminder of how far they had come, from whispered rumors and uncertain beginnings to love, acceptance, and a shared dream. The day of the wedding arrived, a bright sunny morning filled with warmth and laughter. Friends, neighbors, and family gathered to celebrate Emily and Jack, witnessing the bond that had grown stronger with every passing day. Emily walked down a path lined with flowers, her heart full, knowing that this town, once so wary of her, now celebrated her presence. Jack met her at the end of the path, his eyes filled with love and pride. "You're beautiful," he whispered, taking her hands in his. "And you're mine, officially this time, in every way that matters." Emily smiled, feeling tears of joy slip down her cheeks. "And you're mine," she replied softly. As they exchanged vows promising to support, trust, and love each other, the town cheered, not just for the union of two people, but for the story of resilience, understanding, and acceptance that Emily and Jack represented. They had faced judgment, rumors, and challenges, yet their love had grown stronger, inspiring those around them. When the ceremony ended and they walked hand in hand through the cheering crowd, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. She had come to Willow Creek searching for a new life, and she had found not only love and trust but also a home. The town that had once whispered about her now celebrated her, and she knew that with Jack by her side, they could face anything together. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the fields and the ranch, Emily and Jack stood together, looking out at the life they had built. It was a life filled with love, respect, and partnership, a life that had grown from hope, courage, and unwavering support. Emily finally understood what it meant to be seen, valued, and loved for who she truly was. And with Jack, she knew that the future held endless possibilities, adventures, and happiness, all shared together as partners, friends, and lovers. The town of Willow Creek had witnessed a transformation, not just in Emily, but in the way people came to understand the power of trust, kindness, and genuine love. Emily's journey from whispered rumors to celebrated bride was a testament to resilience and the strength of a bond built on respect and care. And as she and Jack began their married life together, they did so with hearts full of hope, joy, and a love that would endure any challenge the future might bring.